So, we're now post-tournament. I had worked 4 hard months to be able to get a build playable and stable enough to get feedback from a group of folks. Accomplished. So in my eyes, this is when the road to alpha build release begins. I have some rich observations and feedback from the tournament, a stable playable build on my hands, and an audience from my main channel that will be more than willing to play. I can do this. But it didn't make much sense to me to release version 0.1.0 as an alpha build when I know there are things I can improve and fix. The way I seen it, why release an alpha if the probability of hearing the same feedback is high? And so, I began to focus on the feedback that I got from the tournament. One of the biggest complaints that I got from the tournament was, once you lose your legs, it's pretty much game over. You just have to sit there and wait until you leak out oil to be able to jump back in and play. And you can see that happening to Chris right here. As you can see, once Chris lost his legs, he just released the grip on the controller because he knew all was hopeless. This, my friends, is bad game design. And so, I went to the drawing board on how I could solve this. The first idea that came to mind was to add a mechanic where you could launch your head, and that head would explode on any collision. But after having a go implementing this, it was just too hard to aim and control, making it even harder to make it satisfying, thus making it not fun. However, when you launched your head, it acted as an auto kill button, and this part of the feature made so much sense. So in version 0.1.6, I made the auto kill button an official feature. I believe at first the mechanic just detached all your limbs and killed you to get you back in the game without really affecting anything, more so just acting as like a reset button. But in a later version, I made it where the androids now self-destruct, and all the android body parts then fly at very fast velocities, potentially harming others nearby, while also blasting others away if they're close enough. When I playtested this mechanic, satisfaction among players went through the roof. But one thing that I realized was that because self-destruction was instant, it could be used to cheat. It made it way too easy to tie matches, even if you're playing against someone more skilled. And so, I added a self-destruct timer, giving other players about 2-3 seconds to react to it. Which, currently, there's only really like 2 reactions that you can take, either run away or kill that player quick, because killing the player will stop the timer. But adding this timer was a great addition, because it gave players the ability to strategize around it, making the game feel more fun, and also creating some really funny scenarios. Another thing most people complained about during the tournament was not being able to pick up their weapons after throwing them. Now, of course, this was going to be added at some point, but due to the amount of demand for this, I added it as soon as possible. It was a bit of a pain to add due to the amount of tech debt I had built up at this point, but after a couple of days, it was in-game and functional. Next, I added some visible damage points, which show after every hit to give you an idea on how powerful the collision was. Well, not after every hit. There's a bit of a minimum damage that has to be over, but you get the idea. This still isn't super thought out or useful information to the player yet. I don't know, maybe the stronger hits are satisfying to see, but I need to work on this a bit. Either way, it's currently in the game and looks cool if you ask me. And interestingly enough, I had a couple of people tell me that they like the current art style for the game, which in my eyes is only temporary. After I refactor, I want to add more of a distinguishing art style. But for now, I also added a custom toon shader, which I absolutely adore. And even though I'm using mostly primitive shapes at the moment, I think it adds some aesthetic to the game even in this early stage. And I'm quite sure it's here to stay.